All right, today we're tackling something pretty wild. It's a theory that's been in the works for 40 years, a single unified idea that claims to connect, well, almost everything. It's called philosophy. And honestly, it's one of the most ambitious concepts we've ever come across. So let's get into it. Okay, so take a look at this. On one hand, you've got cutting-edge Google AI. On the other, a traditional family dairy farm in Punjab, India. What in the world could these two things possibly have in common? I mean, it sounds like a riddle, right? But believe it or not, one researcher says the answer is found in a 40-year journey, a quest to build a bridge between these two totally different worlds. So, where does a story like this even begin? Well, our starting point is actually something pretty recent. An official certificate in Google AI for educators, earned with distinction. Now, at first glance, you might think, okay, cool, a modern tech cert. But this isn't the end of the story, not even close. It's actually just the latest piece of a massive puzzle that's been coming together for decades. So this certificate comes with this official note, right? It says, you are now prepared to begin using Google AI tools to boost your productivity. And so on. Pretty standard stuff. But for the person who earned this, it was way more than just a productivity tool. It was the latest piece of evidence in this lifelong mission to connect what he calls the natural AI, the one inside our own brains, with the artificial intelligence we're building in our machines. See that AI certificate? It didn't just come out of nowhere. It's actually the capstone on a learning journey that kicked off more than 40 years ago. And what a journey it's been, weaving together this incredible tapestry of experiences and skills that, on the surface, seem to have nothing to do with each other. Let's trace this path for a second. It starts way back in the mid-'80s with one of the very first computer classes in Punjab. Then jump to 92, and there's a course on high-performance learning. A few years later, in 95, he becomes the region's first ever non-government scoutmaster. Then an Oracle computing course in 97. And it all spirals forward for decades until we land on that Google AI certificate. You can really see how each step adds this completely different, unexpected layer to the story. And it's not just about tech and leadership courses, not at all. The experiences get even more diverse. We're talking about being a state yoga champion in primary school, studying under an Australian media consultant, leading scout troops to win the President's Award, which is a huge deal. The influences are just everywhere. Getting hundreds of books for a school library from the U.S. Embassy. The family even had a film production house. And get this, his father was the physical education professor for the famous singer Gurdas Mann. It's like a whole life spent just absorbing and trying to connect all this wildly different knowledge. So you have to ask, how do you make sense of all of that? I mean, dairy farming and AI, scouting and yoga, how does it all fit? Well, this is where the big idea comes into play. After decades of collecting all these different threads, a single theory was developed to finally weave them all together. And that theory is philosophy. And that, of course, brings us to the million-dollar question for this whole explainer. What is philosophy exactly? Okay, so at its heart, philosophy starts by combining three big P's: philosophy, psychology, and psychiatry, studies of the mind, right? But here's where it gets really out there. It takes those three and merges them with cymatics. And cymatics is the study of how vibrations and sound create visible, physical patterns. Like when you see sound waves making sand form these incredible geometric shapes. The theory basically says that everything, from our own thoughts to the entire universe, works on principles just like that. So let's just break that down one more time. You've got your three pillars for understanding our inner world: philosophy, psychology, and psychiatry. But the thing that connects our inner world to the outer physical universe, that's cymatics. The big idea here is that if we can somehow figure out the vibrational patterns of our thoughts, we could unlock a common language that describes the physical world too. And this really gets to the heart of it. The theory sees the human brain as a kind of powerhouse of natural AI for all living things. And the grand ambition is that cymatics, the study of visible vibrations, might just be the missing link. It could be that shared language, that bridge, that finally lets us connect our own biological intelligence with the artificial intelligence that we're creating in machines. And look, the ambition here is, well, it's staggering. We're not just talking about connecting a few subjects here and there. The goal is to create one single, unified framework for basically all knowledge. Everything from the subatomic level all the way up to our social structures. So, according to this way of thinking, the very same underlying principles could connect something as fundamental as neutrino physics
To something as practical as research into paralysis.
and then connect all of that to something like the system for international scouting awards. The argument is that they're all just different expressions of the exact same core patterns. It's a huge claim. Now, this isn't just some idea floating around in a paper. There's a plan for a real-world application, a proposed new kind of university, the E.K. Gurmukhi World R&D University. And its whole mission would be to create a physical place for this kind of integrated research, a place where, yes, AI and dairy farming could actually be studied side by side, under one single unifying roof. And if you're going to create a whole new kind of university, well, you might as well create a whole new kind of degree to go with it. And this proposal is pretty out there. It's a plan for a totally new kind of doctorate, one designed from the ground up to encourage the exact kind of thinking phil psychology is built on. So this idea for a new degree is actually inspired by Shaolin traditions, and it splits all knowledge into two big categories. On one side, you have degrees for wood. That's the earthly part. Think abstract ideas, philosophy, the hidden stuff. On the other side, you have degrees for metal. That's the physical part, the tangible, concrete, real-world stuff. So here's how this would actually work. Step 1. A candidate has to earn 2 separate doctorates, one in a field of idealism, the wood side, and another in a field of realism, the metal side. Step 2. They then have to produce brand new research that actually connects those two different fields. And if they pull it off, Step 3, that brilliant act of synthesis earns them a 3rd doctorate, a totally new degree in pragmatism, proving they've mastered this deep interdisciplinary way of thinking. So what do we make of all this? Philsophology is clearly the result of a very personal 40-year quest to find unity in a world that feels more and more broken up. It's a really bold, maybe even audacious, attempt to build a system where a Google AI algorithm and the traditional wisdom of a family farm are seen as two sides of the same coin. And that just leaves us with one big question to chew on. In our world of extreme specialization, could a single theory really unite artificial intelligence with ancient wisdom? And maybe more importantly, what could we even discover if it did?